Hello class, this is Michelle Long, your English 110 instructor, and we are currently in week 7, so I want to give you just some introduction material that's happening this week in week 7, and I also want to talk to you about your persuasive essay that will be due at the end of this term, as well as discuss what we're going to be reviewing this week, which is creating the thesis statement as well as body paragraph 1. Last week you should have watched my PowerPoint presentation podcast that explains to you how to create an essay. Last week you should also have watched the video James ESL that he is explaining and bringing to life how to create an essay from the beginning to end. And then you had to create an assignment based on James ESL video. And that assignment was to choose your topic for the persuasive essay and hand in the assignment based on your topic. This week, what we're going to be doing is just strictly focusing on thesis body paragraph 1. There's a little bit of an addition to last week and the outline for last week. So next week we're going to talk about the body paragraph 2 and 3 of our 5-paragraph essay that will be due at the end of the term. Week 9 is going to be talking about the conclusion paragraph and a little bit of referencing, and then week 10 we're going to go over works cited using the MLA. The last week is the final persuasive essay is going to be due. And also in week 10, you'll be given your final examination, which will be cumulative for the entire term. So it'll be questions on the entire term from week 1. Okay, so choosing your topic. By this week now, you should have chosen your topic, and you should have also chosen your counter argument. So whether or not you're choosing which way or another, such as vaping, or do you think it should be illegal? Do you think it should be legal? That's going to be your argument. So this week, you should have already known that because your last assignment has you do the assignment based on your topic. So that should have already been chosen. These are the 4 topic choices, just as a reminder. And the topic choices are vaping, marijuana, energy drinks, violent video games. And your arguments should be whether or not you feel as though they should be illegal or they should be legal. Research we talked about last week as well. And basically what research was, I asked you to look up the 4 topics and just get a general idea of the topics and just find what it is that may have interested you or may not interest you, and that's done through research. You're just kind of looking up and you're reading about the topic is basically all what research is. And as you're reading, you're kind of forming an opinion because you may just have heard about the topic from friends, neighbors, parents, family, but when you go out and you do research, you actually find out data and you find out factual information about the topic. So as you're reading them, you're then forming your own thoughts, and then you're also maybe changing the way that you thought because of that information, because of the factual data. Once you know what you're going to write about, then you can just, once you pick your topic, you start writing. You just get on the computer. You can either start typing or you can get a pen and paper, start writing, either one. And that's based on what you've read out online about the topic. Now you're actually sitting down and doing research. So research is through the interviewing people also. You could read the newspaper. You can, if you have a book around about it, and you can also go on the internet and look up an article in a journal or just an article on a website. This is an example of the assignment that you had to do last week that was due, and I did this actually based on the topic that I chose, and I actually chose violent video games because I feel I have had 2 teenagers, so I kind of understand this, and it really concerns me. Not that the other topics don't concern me, but this one was concerning because the effects that it has on the minds of people that actually play these violent games, and it kind of changes their behaviors, and it changes their mindset. It's almost like they're desensitized. Like if you've watched a violent or a horror movie so many times, you just get like, who cares? Like after 10 times watching, you're just like, oh yeah, But somebody like me who does not watch any horror movies, I do not like scary movies, I don't. If I were to sit down and actually watch one, I would be really affected by it. So it there is studies out there that do show that the video games and the gaming and the violent especially do actually play into risk factors for violent behavior. It's not just something that somebody says, oh, it could actually happen. There have actually been studies out there that prove that. And some of these games actually reward the players for killing innocent people. And, it's no secret that the amount of violent and the amount of killings that have happened in schools and things like that have increased, and it just so happens to have increased when these violent games have begun also. Not that it didn't happen before, but there was an increase of the incidents. And the other thing too is decreases of prosocial helping behavior. So, it's not like they're playing games where they're going out and helping people walking across the street, or helping people with, by giving them money, or giving the homeless. Like there are no video games like that. So it kind of decreases their helping behavior. It makes them more like aggressive and more, almost, I want to say violent. Not everybody that plays video games, I'm not saying that, becomes violent, but there's just a little bit of a tendency for those that have violent tendencies to become violent if they play a lot of the video gaming, and it changes the course of the brain. So what I did was I just used that as an example for my topic. My arguments are to the right. Now, all of the things that I said for the reasons, these are all going to become body paragraphs. So my first body paragraph is going to be just about risk factors for violent behavior. The second one's going to be, the body paragraph 2 is going to be rewarding players for killing innocent people. And then the third body paragraph is going to be decreases the prosocial helping behavior. So those are going to turn into topic sentences in my body paragraph. And notice that the arrow points from the topic to the 3 reasons, and those reasons will expand into body paragraphs. Now, underneath that, where it says thesis, I'm going to take the topic, and then I'm going to take the 3 reasons. I'm going to put them all together in one bucket and swirl them around, and out is going to come my thesis. And it's all going to be based on how violent video games should be prohibited. That is going to be my main thesis. So all of the body paragraphs are going to point back to the thesis. Counter arguments are, every controversial issue has 2 sides. So vaping, if you were to do vaping, yes. If you think it should be legal, if you think it should be okay, if you don't mind that it's part of society, then that's your issue, that on the one side. On the other side, you want it to become illegal. Let's say, it's just too tempting for kids to go out there and vape, especially because they can buy them legally, and it hasn't, whether or not it has been um, mandated or legalized, it still doesn't matter. It's still affecting the health of people out there. They're getting sick. So there are 2 sides to that issue. Then once you find that side, then you support your position with research, and then you can also find out what other people think. So if somebody disagrees with you, that's good research to put into your body paragraph about that particular reason, or that topic that relates to your subject. Preparing your arguments, basically, you're just looking at the 3 main reasons, and those are the 3 main reasons that I showed you in my example, and then you can actually use your opinion. You can also do objections, what others may have said about explicitly the actual reason. So if somebody did say something about the pro-social, maybe they disagreed with it or something like that, then I could have used that for one of my sentences in my body paragraph for the pro-social, which was body paragraph 3. And then you write down under each of your reasons. So you should have 3 arguments and 3 counter arguments, okay? That no more than 3. And the reason why we have 3 is because we have 3 body paragraphs. If we were doing a whole thesis, or if we were doing a dissertation, yes, you would probably have more reasons, more body paragraphs. But we're only doing an essay. You only need 3 arguments. Answering the counter arguments, so you write down your answers for the counter arguments, and it just gives you more supporting documentation, more supporting evidence and information that you can put into your paragraph, and as well as the raw material that you've gained from your. And basically what a thesis sentence is. What is a thesis statement? A thesis statement is a sentence that tells the readers the main points that your paper is going to cover and in what order that they're going to appear. So the order that you put in your thesis statement, just like my reasons that I gave you, the 3 body paragraphs, those are going to go in my thesis statement, and they're going to go in that order. So if I'm talking about pro-social in my body paragraph 1, I have to make sure that that's in my thesis, the first subject in my thesis. And basically what a thesis statement is, bottom line. It is your entire paper squeezed in one sentence at the end of your introduction. So in your introduction paragraph, your thesis statement is going to be the last statement, the last sentence in that paragraph. I'm going to repeat that because this is extremely important. You do not want to put your thesis statement in the beginning of your introductory paragraph. You do not want to do that because it's not just a paragraph that you're writing, it's an essay. Your thesis statement has to go at the end of your introductory paragraph. It's the last sentence in that paragraph. So basically, what an essay is without a thesis statement, it's kind of like a car without a driver. And I know in today's day and age, you can actually have no driver in a car. But technically, that's what it is. And it's just kind of like a car drives down the street. What's it going to do? It's going to run into the first thing that it can. Could be another car, telephone pole, house. If there's no driver in the car, it's kind of like a thesis. It's really going nowhere. Your essay is going nowhere. It's going all over the place, kind of like a horse galloping in all different directions. If there is no thesis, thesis is like a guide. It's like a map to your destination, and you absolutely 100% have to have a thesis in every essay that you write. So again, just to restate what exactly a thesis statement is, it's going to state your position on the topic. So for your persuasive essay, you want to make sure and put your position of your topic in your persuasive essay thesis. And again, as I stated in the last slide, it's going to set up the structure for your paper. It's kind of like the outline when we did the outline for the paragraph. Basically, that's what a thesis is. It's like an outline. It sets up the structure of your paper. Your paper has to follow, and it has to relate back to your thesis statement all the time. You can never go off on a tangent onto a new topic or a new idea. It has to always relate to your thesis. Support the thesis with your 3 reasons again, and those 3 main reasons you have to come up with, and you should have done this on your exercise last week. Those are the 3 reasons that are going to be your support, and they're going to transform into your body paragraphs. So it's just like this picture here where this man is looking ahead and he is shaking his head because he's not, or scratching his head actually because he doesn't know which way to go. Your thesis will be your map. So if he had a map in his hand, the thesis would be the map. You would know exactly where you were going if your thesis is complete and accurate. So basically, the formula for writing a persuasive thesis is you should have 2 main parts, and the first part is your suggestion. your recommendation, what people should do. And then, of course, it is your evidence. Why should people do this? It's basically what your persuasive thesis will be like. And this is one way of looking at it. So it should have a suggestion, recommendation, then it should also have the evidence to back up what it is that you are suggesting. Here is an example of the thesis statement that I created based on the 3 reasons of why I think video games are will affect the players negatively. So the thesis statement that I came up with, I took my topic, which is violent video games, and then I also took the 3 reasons, put them together, and created a sentence. And the sentence is, studies have shown that violent video gaming desensitizes the players who play these games for long periods of time, and it can decrease prosocial behavior and cause verbal aggression. This is my thesis statement. So I am taking those 3 reasons and I'm putting them in order in my thesis statement, and this is what my essay is going to be about. So your first body paragraph is going to be the number 1 reason. That is what your first body paragraph is going to be on. You will do a topic sentence just like we learned about how to create a paragraph in the beginning of the term. Well, you're going to do the same thing for each one of those paragraphs. You're going to go back and look at what we've learned about how to create a paragraph and apply that to your first body paragraph. Of course, your second, your third one, you're going to apply that as well. But for this week, we're only focusing on the first body paragraph. So you're only taking your first main reason, your first reason, and you're transforming that into a body paragraph. And you're going to come up with a topic sentence that relates back to your essay. And then you're going to come up with details about how your supporting evidence believes what you believe. You know, you're supporting what it is that you are believing about the topic, whether or not something should be illegal, whether or not it should be legal, depends on the topic that you're talking about. And then, of course, you repeat the process until you have the 3 paragraphs, but then we're not there yet. We're not going to talk about body paragraph 2 and 3 until next week. We're only just focusing this week on thesis and first body. So in your body paragraphs, each one of them has to have a topic sentence, and it's usually the first sentence. It doesn't have to be. It could be the second or third. It just cannot be the last sentence in your paragraph because that is where the conclusion sentence goes. So in your body paragraphs, you're constantly just supporting your thesis, constantly just supporting your thesis. You can use examples. You can use our direct quotations that we learned about last week. You can use statistics. You can use your opinion. You can use anything that you really want to use for support from your research, but it should always connect back to your essay, which is the last sentence, once again, in your introductory paragraph. Okay, so this is kind of just like a topical or just a graphical representation of your essay and your thesis statement, and it's basically taking the body paragraph 1, 2, and 3, and you can see where the arrows go. They go back to your thesis statement. They're always going back. They're always pointing in the direction of the thesis statement. They never go away from that. So here's an example of a paragraph, not necessarily a persuasive paragraph, but it's just a paragraph in general. I just wanted to give you an example of what you'll see in a particular paragraph. So your body paragraph 1 will have your topic sentence, and it just so happens that they put the topic sentence as the first sentence, which is okay. Normally that does happen. So family vacations can bring people closer together. Okay, so this entire paragraph is going to relate back to that topic sentence. Your supporting sentences are after that. Notice that you have actually pulled something, a direct quote from research. According to Dr. John Smith, PhD, people who are open to counseling or group therapy have stronger, healthier relationships. So that looks like it's coming from research that they've done because it's in quotations and it's directly quoting Dr. John Smith. You have other sentences that are explanatory, and then your very last sentence is your concluding sentence. In your body paragraph, your last sentence is always a concluding sentence, and that basically just summarizes your paragraph, and it starts to connect you and transition you to the next paragraph. So it should not be something that you haven't talked about, it should not open any other topic up. It should really just say, okay, basically you're telling the reader, okay, we're done with this paragraph. Now what I want to do is I want to transition you to the next paragraph, to the next idea. And that's what a concluding sentence does. Counter arguments are just research that opposes to what you believe, and that's okay, quite okay. Not everybody in the world is going to agree with you. Not everybody in the world is going to, you know, feel as you do about your topic. That's what makes the world go round. So your counter arguments can also be placed in there as well. And addresses arguments in a paragraph explaining why your position is a better one. You can do that as well. That you could be creative in that way. You can just be very creative in your arguments and your supporting details, your sentences, all your sentences in your paragraph. You can be really as creative as you want to be. So building paragraphs here, we're starting with the first paragraph, which is called body paragraph 1. And it basically sums up and makes the transition to the main idea, and to the next paragraph is what the final sentence does. I know we had just given an example of what the conclusion sentence was in the previous slide, but in all of your paragraphs, and I know I've used body paragraph 1 as an example, but in all of your paragraphs, except for the conclusion, but in all of your paragraphs in your essay should have a conclusion sentence that transitions you to the next thought. The end. Thank you very much, and any questions, please let me know.